Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Colin and today we're going to do a playthrough of Arena, the Contest. Now this is the book of the world and art. It's not the cover because it's way too big for me to carry with one hand. So this book is really cool, by the way. It's really fun. I mean, seeing some of the art that they have. I mean, just look at this. Oh, that looks so cool. This game was a Kickstarter game that actually I initially did not back, but then I found somebody selling it for pretty cheap and I decided to pick it up. The game was originally designed as a competitive game, at least that's what I was seeing on the Kickstarter. It's usually you can do 2 teams of 4, you fight it out actually on the other side of the board, because the other side of the board has a standard setup. But during that campaign, they also came out with how you can play against villains, and also an epic campaign. And the epic campaign, as you can obviously imagine, I'm pretty excited about. Actually, all I can think of is Barrett when I think of the epic campaign. But I have decided that let's try and play this and see what it's like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first scenario of the epic campaign. I am going to read that just so you can kind of see what it's like. So if you don't want any spoilers, check out right now. I'm going to put where you can jump to skip that story part. Because that story part actually matters, to understand why we're doing what we're doing. But if you just want to see how the game plays, go ahead and jump past that. Then you can get to the setup and get to the playthrough. Without further ado, let's jump into the story and understand what's happening in this world. We're supposed to choose one hero that's going to read this, and I'm going to choose Zund, the illusionist, because I think he looks awesome, and he's purple. Purple's my favorite color, and look at him. He looks super sweet. I love the dragon here. You rest inside a rented cabin, healing small wounds you've gotten in your last Arena of Fate battle, which was easily won. A luxurious cavern stops by your front door. An emissary, covered in imperial badges and pendants, quickly steps out, introduces himself as Swordmaster Islayer Orlean, but he needed no introduction. You had seen him already in some arena fights, swinging his great 2-handed sword with a skill that is second to none. He hands you the following letter.
Respectable hero, our glorious emperor has watched all latest arena fights very closely and was impressed with the degree of skill you've displayed. You are invited to a special dinner to be held tomorrow night in the noble hall of our capital's arena. Present this letter at the main gates and our soldiers will open them for you. At the meeting, we will present you with an offer we consider to be irrefutable. We want to hire you to carry out a sensitive mission of great relevance to the future of the world and the Empire. Further details are classified and will be presented to you at the meeting. Come alone and tell no one about this.
A large banquet awaited you in the hall of the largest arena of Fate's stateroom, where, after dining alone, the same emissary appears and begins his speech.
The Empire wants to hire you for a mission. We can pay you a vast fortune, enough for you to never have to fight in arenas again if you so wish.
Seeing that you raise no objection, the emissary continues.
What do you know about the wasteland? Around the world, rumors fly, but concrete information crawls. What everybody knows is that it came about 170 years ago in the last Tenarian Great War, as godly punishment to the spilling of blood around Arcana, the ancient capital of the mystical kingdom. A great fissure opened in the heavens and earth, swallowing up most of the warriors. Those who survived the opening of the crater perished before the beastlies and aberrations materialized by the gods. Today, it is impossible to stay too long in the region. A terrible mist spreads through almost all the territory we now call a mystical province, causing a series of strange effects to those who come into direct contact with it, such as hallucinations. What you may not know is that we're receiving growing reports of cities being attacked by freakish monsters coming out of the wasteland. Some smaller villages are completely destroyed before their people manage to defend themselves. Those who live close to the wasteland border are not safe. To make matters worse, our measurements indicate the wasteland has doubled in size over the past 100 years, and that its expansion is occurring at an accelerating pace. If this continues, we estimate that in a few years the wasteland will be twice as big as today, meaning it will swallow the imperial capital, much of the Central Sea, and everything we call East. If nothing is done, the wasteland could swallow all of Teneris.
The Emperor's representative stands up and motions for you to follow. You enter an adjoining room where a huge world map was painted over the length of one of the walls. Pointing to the excerpts of the wall map, the emissary continues the account.
The Empire had been studying the north face of the wasteland border for a long time, trying to figure out ways to contain its expansion, but with no success. Recently, though, we had a breakthrough. An independent group of scholars, specialists on dragons, traveled to the south face of the wasteland border, and there they seem to have found an important lead to the solution of the problem. However, the content and relevance of this lead is unknown to us, for before they could share their findings, the scholars were captured by a group of orc barbarians from Earthlit citadels, in alliance with members of the Shadow Wing, a terrorist group that wants the world to suffer and ultimately to end through the wasteland's expansion.
Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to travel to the Tvezvetsan province and sneak into Efferfield Citadel to rescue as many scholars as you can from prison. Then, using their shared knowledge, initiate an investigation aimed at solving the problem of the wasteland's expansion.
Accomplishing this mission will draw the attention of the cult of the Shadow Wing, the Orcs' allies, whom we must assume have spies everywhere in the capital. Heck, I could be one. If I were you, I'd only come back here after reaching a dead end, not to risk the Shadow Wing putting a tail on you. Also, try not to tell anyone about your ultimate goal, and never reveal that you are an Imperial contractor. Unfortunately, that's the same reason why the Empire cannot send the Iron Hand for this task. We need specialists, because we do not want to draw the Shadow Wing's attention. If they learn we stand behind an initiative to curb the expansion of Wasteland, they may try to sabotage the investigation. Furthermore, there is no guarantee that the orcs would not kill the prisoners as soon as they realized we had sent our army after them. The best way to ensure the survival of scholars is through infiltration, search and rescue. Enter the Citadel without being seen, kill the guards you meet, and leave the city as silently as you entered.
The emissary invites you to sit opposite him on a massive oak table. He removes from his desk a parchment and gold plaque with inscriptions and the imperial symbol, which are given to you.
This is an Imperial Free Transit plaque, granted only to the most valuable citizens and merchants with a direct relationship with the Empire. Present it whenever you encounter a problem, such as inspectors wanting to take a look at your cargo or collect taxes. Taxes. Guards who not want to open the city's gates late at night, or hotel owners who ask too many questions before giving you a room. This parchment contains a list of the most impressive heroes to have recently fought in this arena, including yourself. Researching their skills and history, we think they would be able to contribute to the success of the mission. See if you already know or have fought next to any of them, and choose your team. Try to make it as diverse and complete as possible, so do not choose two heroes that perform the same combat role, including yourself. Your team must have a total of 4 members, small enough not to call attention, but large enough to overcome the dangers and adversities of your mission.
Now what we do is we recruit 3 other heroes, and then read Lava Citadel Prelude. Here we have the map of Teneris. It's a lot bigger, but I'm just showing you a certain section. Here's the capital. This is the area where they had the gods do this big attack on the people because everyone was fighting. And there's this whole lore about this that I'm not going to get into. You can certainly read it on your own, or you're free to ask me any questions in the comments. But what's essentially happening is this area, which is the late wasteland, is growing and growing. And this is where we're trying to go to, this Efferhild Citadel. And this is where we're trying to infiltrate. Okay, so we're going to go down over here and try and infiltrate this citadel. So let's go ahead and look at our 4 heroes. The 4 heroes that I'm going to play, I've got a controller, I've got a tank, I've got a shooter, and I have a healer. Now, there's other types like a brute, a bruiser, a tactician that you can also have, but since I can only choose 4, I'm choosing these 4. So here we have Zund, the illusionist. He has 60 hit points. If ever that hit points goes to 0, he's dead, and people have to try and either resurrect him or he's out of the game. You have a basic attack, which you'll use for any reaction attacks, because in this game you will have, if an enemy is next to you and they try and either attack range another character or move away from your space, you can do a basic attack against them. You'll have a defense of 6, and why that matters is when the enemy is attacking you, they're going to try and roll a 6 or higher to hit you. That would have hit. And then here we have our total movement. He's not a great mover. He only has a movement of 5. I guess it's not terrible, but he has a movement of 5. Every character has 2 primary attacks and then 2 special attacks. The primary attacks you can use every round. The special attacks you can use once per game. So you need to decide, okay, when do I want to do it? Do I want to do it earlier or later? All that stuff. Also, every hero has a passive power. So let's go ahead and look at these quick. Zun's two primary attacks are the Rainbow Ray and the Dangerous Choice. So the Rainbow Ray tells us you can attack within a range of 8. You're going to be targeting an enemy, and you'll do 10 damage plus whatever the effect is as long as you hit. The effect is the target can't regain HP and is exposed once per turn. So until his next turn, that enemy will be considered exposed, which essentially gives them -3 to their defense. Dangerous Choice, also a range of 8, one enemy, 7 damage plus one of the effects. Either the target takes +9 damage, or the target can't make a primary or special attack until the next round. That's what that little icon means. Kind of cool. So you can attack someone. Maybe we know we're not going to defeat them for this round, so we can attack them and make it so they can't attack us. Here are Zun's specialty attacks. We've got Mirage and Nightmare. So Mirage, you can see that hand symbol right there. That means it's an interrupt. So when an enemy is about to attack, what he can do within a range of 8, we can take 10 damage ourselves, then deal 6 damage, and then have this effect. Negate the target's attack, and then you may remove one permanent effect from a combatant within range. Cool. We also have Nightmare. This will do within range 8. It'll do 18 damage plus an effect. It's a permanent. An enemy within range is weakened once per turn. So I believe what happens is for the rest of the game, he will be able to, when it's his turn, he can weaken someone that's within his range. Weaken means they deal -3 damage when they attack. Finally, his passive power is Despair. Trigger, hit a target on your first hit of your turn, and then another enemy within 5 squares of you takes 4 damage. Next, we have Jorana the Amazon. She's our tank, and she is awesome. She has 70 hit points. Her basic attack is 6. It's melee. Her defense is 8, though, instead of 6, and her movement is 6. I love her primary attack names, Dance of Steel and Whirling Strike. So Dance of Steel, you have to be within 1 square, does 8 damage, plus you become toughened. Another enemy within 5 squares of you takes 3 damage. Or the Whirling Strike, that can actually hit within 2 squares. So you can hit up to 2 enemies. If they're lined up, boom, boom, you can hit both of them. That does 8 damage. And the effect, you may move any number of targets hit 1 square towards you. Her specialties we have are the Thunderous Charge. That's a 1 square benefit. You may move up to 8 squares in a single direction before declaring the target. Does 22 damage. The target takes +4 damage if you've used the benefit to move at least 4 spaces. Cool. And then we have Lightning Reflexes. 1 square, 16 damage. And then she gets a permanent effect for the rest of the game. You may make a basic attack at the end of all your turns. So remember that basic attack of 6? She can do that after she does any regular attacks. Finally, her passive ability is called the Circle of Protection. The trigger is an enemy starts its turn adjacent to you, and the first target it attacks is not you. Then what happens is the enemy takes a -2 penalty to its first roll and 4 damage. This can't lower its HP below 1. Next, we have Zanuck, the Fire Sorcerer. He has the lowest hit points you're going to see of anyone, 55. His basic attack is 8. I can read. His defense is 6. Movement is 5. He can deal out some damage. He's our shooter. So range 8, 13 damage, and his effect is another enemy within 2 squares of the target takes 3 damage. So yeah, he basically shoots fire, flame blast, hits somebody else. Then our Infernal Shield, 8 squares for range, 12 damage, and the effect is choose an ally within range. The next enemy who hits that ally from within 2 squares of it takes 4 damage. They've got fire as a shield, so when the enemy attacks them, they take damage. It's so cool. His special attacks are Eternal Blaze, 8 for range, 24 damage, and permanent. You are empowered, and what empowered means is that you deal +3 damage when your attack hits an enemy. So it basically powers him up for the whole rest of the game. And then Fireball is just a straight 18 damage? Yeah, just straight. And it's all combatants in a 3x3 area. That does include your own characters, though. So if he drops that somewhere and it hits somebody, and we're standing in there like our tank, yeah, might accidentally hit her too. But sometimes that might be worth it. His special is Accuracy. Hit a target from at least 5 squares away, and then that target takes 4 damage. So if we hit someone who's already 5 away, and we hit them, we'll do an additional 4 damage. Rounding out our team, because I'm a musician, so I love having musicians on my team, we've got Jade the Bard. She's got 60 health, her basic attack is 6, her defense is 7, which actually is quite impressive. Her movement is 5. Her primary attacks are the Angelic Voice and the Heroic Melody. So Angelic Voice, range of 8, does 7 damage, and her effects are you or an ally within range regains 6 HP. Also, until her next turn, an ally within range is hastened. What hastened means is that they can leave a square when they're adjacent or attack a ranged enemy when they're adjacent to another enemy, and they do not have that reaction attack. Also, their primary attacks and strikes are critical hits on rolls of 17 or more. Critical hits do bonus damage, so that's awesome. Normally that's only a 20. Heroic Melody is the 8 normal squares, 10 damage, and then an ally within range is empowered. Empowered deals that +3 damage when you hit, and then it says you may move any number of allies within range up to 2 squares each. So it actually help the team keep their movement. I'm assuming, though, with that, you've got to watch out for reaction attacks. Her 2 special attacks are Inspire Greatness and Requiem of Spirit. So Inspire Greatness, 8 squares, 18 damage, and we have a permanent effect. Choose an ally within range, apply 1 helpful condition to it. This condition, except hasten, applies once per turn. Cool. The Requiem of Spirit, it does 0 damage. You actually are targeting an ally for this. This target regains 20 HP. An ally within range regains 1 spent special attack. And then even if you miss, the target regains 15 HP. No residual damage. So a lot of times when you miss, you're not going to get anything, but some attacks will actually have an ability where they'll have residual damage. Even if we miss, we'll still do something, which is a nice benefit. I like that in a game that's based off of dice rolls. Her passive ability is Hope. Target. Hit a target on your first hit of your turn. An ally within range may regain 4 HP, but it can't regain HP again this turn. We're just about to read the prelude for this first scenario, and that is for the campaign. So if you don't want to see that, go ahead and jump to the timestamp below, and you can skip this. Complying with your first Imperial orders, you head to Veneta Village, many miles northeast of Etherfield Citadel. The village is partially destroyed. It had been attacked by beasts emerging from the wasteland. You can see its toxic mist on the horizon to the north. To help with the reconstruction efforts, the Empire built an improvised Iron Hand post where your party meets with Dawnbreaker, an Imperial Army major, for a secret meeting.
I sent a small troop to the mountains near Etherfield Citadel to observe the movement within the city. Here are our conclusions,
he says, pointing to a rough map of the city that hangs on the wall.
Etherfield is an ancient city that belongs to the mystical kingdom. Barbarian orcs, you can never trust them, conquered it after the kingdom's extinction, despite being protected by a surrounding river of lava, extracted from the depths of the Teneris by long-lost magic. The orcs have apparently learned how to deal with the city's protective spells. The area where they keep the scholars has many perpetually burning pools and is under the influence of magical devices that periodically strikes every unauthorized intruder, which of course you will be. We have found a way to safely enter the city. You will have to tiptoe your way throughout an extended portion of the citadel, but we trust your ability to be stealthy. Infiltrate the city in the gloomy dawn, in the dead of night, to delay the reaction time of the city's inhabitants. All orcs who live there are excellent fighters. If you take too long and become surrounded, it will be impossible to escape with your life. Confrontation with guards is almost inevitable, as orcs continually patrol the area. You must kill the sentinels you encounter, as they may alert others to your presence. Escaping the city's perimeter as soon as possible is of the utmost importance, as the prisoners are poorly fed and won't be able to run too much. You also can't trust them to be silent or follow orders. After rescuing the prisoners, there's a way to get you under the cloak of the night really fast, but you won't like it. The orcs used one of the citadel's outer walls as the back of their leading headquarters when they built his rooms, located dangerously close to the prisoners. You must activate 2 levers to unlock the door, then kill Cordal, the legendary orc leader. That shall delay the orcs' pursuit initiatives and give you enough time to dig a hole on the outer wall from within Cordal's quarters without alarming anyone. If you are successful, the orcs will only find out that something is wrong well after the sun rises. Sleep well, eat. Tomorrow will be a moonless night, the perfect opportunity to execute the mission. Good luck. The following night, you enter the city through a sewer tunnel.
but you find a locked grate at its end. It seems like a lever opens the grate. Right next to it, human skulls lined up under the city's name, Efferhild, in alcoves dug on the sewer stone wall. You see 6 skulls on the ground. It seems like they fell from their alcoves because there are empty spaces below some of the letters. Draw campaign card 2. Put card 1 on the deck. At this point, you guys, we're going super spoilery, so make sure that you're okay watching this, because this is already a test for us. I haven't done this before, so we're going to see what it says. Before activating the lever, you may put fallen skulls on some alcoves. Write down how many skulls you will put below each of the following letters, then flip this card. So looking at this, what I can see, you see these 3 little arrows pointing out? I feel like there's 3 arrows on this E, and there's 3 skulls here. There are 3 arrows on the F. There's 1 pointing down, and there's 3 skulls here. So, and look at this R. The R has 2, so there's 2 here. The I has 2 as well. So I kind of feel like it's dependent upon the arrows. Could be wrong. So for the first E, I would put a 3, right? Yep, 3 for the E because there's 3 on there. Then for the H, I'd put 4. The L I'd put 2, and the D I'd put 0. Now, if you have a QRL reader, you can actually scan this, and it'll bring you to a website that I believe you can put in your code of what you think it is. Yeah, I don't have that on my phone. I'm not going to try and show that here. So you guys heard what I'm guessing. We're going to look at page 47 of the campaign tome. That's what I understand will tell us if we're right or not. Looking here, we guessed 3 for the E. That's right. We guessed for H 4. Awesome. The L is 2, and the D 0. Perfect, we guessed it right. If all skulls are correctly placed, you exit the sewer. Read outside this text box. Everything else happens as planned by Dawnbreaker the Major. You tiptoe past several alleys without waking anyone up, until you climb a staircase that leads to an uneven area of the city where they keep the scholars. Suddenly you hear a grunt. An orc has spotted you and alerts 2 nearby colleagues. Go to the quest guide, Lava Citadel. Mission starts now. Cool. For those of you not watching the Epic campaign, welcome back to Setup. Here we have our Lava Citadel setup. You can play this as a one-off, or you can play it through the campaign. What we did in the campaign, I'm not going to talk about. It was good stuff. Let's go ahead and just look at this and set up the board. So the first thing is, over here it shows us how to set up the board. I've already done that. The big things you need to note are looking at the wall sizes. It'll tell you 4, 3, 5 potentially. Also, you've got lava pits everywhere. It's got 3 orc enemies to start off with. We're going to start coming out of the staircase. Here are the 3 prisoners that we're trying to save. And then that big boss guy is going to come out over here after we unlock these doors. We have a primary objective and 3 secondary objectives. So in order to win the game, we need to kill the war chief. But we can also get additional XP by rescuing the 3 prisoners and destroying the arcane orb. We could get 4 XP. And then any heroes that survive, we also get 1 XP. We have this wonderful arcane orb. Hope you guys love orbs, because this orb shoots arcane energy at the first hero who takes a turn each round, dealing 8 damage before an action can be made. This damage ignores all effects on the hero and ends when you destroy the orb. To destroy the orb, an adjacent hero must spend a prime action to get rid of it. And you're going to see where that blasted orb is. It's in the middle of nowhere. There are only going to be 2 types of enemies in this playthrough. We have orcs and the war chief. Now, if you did back this on the Kickstarter, you actually got specific miniatures that look like orcs. If you didn't, you just have the base game. You can still play. They'll just use what they call sentinel figures. So you'll see that mine look like orcs, but if you just have the base game, you'll just use the sentinel figures. This gives you the stats for the orcs and the war chief as well as their attacks. So they have a basic attack as well. They've got hit points, movement. They move pretty fast. Their furious blow does 12 damage. And then they actually move that target 1 space towards the nearest lava tile. And yeah, if you get pushed into lava tiles, you automatically take 4 points of damage. So they're basically trying to shove you into those pools, and then you got to get yourself out of them. We'll look at the war chief when we actually see him. He also has a whole overlord perks, but we're not going to get there until we actually get to that space. For this scenario, we're going to have 4 different sets of cards. We have our evil power cards, which will help us determine what the enemies are going to do. They'll tell us what type of strategy they're going to use. Is it going to be the basic strategy, just attacking the closest hero? Or it might be they'll try and go for ones that have the lowest hit points, or the one that's the farthest away, something like that. We don't know what they're going to do, which is pretty fun. I do have the expansion, the Heroes in Dungeon expansion. I think there was more evil powers in there. From what I understand, I just take them all, shuffle them together. So you might see some in here that are pretty intense. Who knows? I don't know if they're harder or not. Also, whenever an enemy is killed, they're going to drop a flask. And as long as we can pick that up before the end of the round, we can pick up a flask from them. So whenever they die, I'll drop their token, their health token on that spot, and someone can spend 1 movement point adjacent to it or on it to pick it up. And you can each hold 2 flasks. Artifacts we might find. I don't really know yet. I just shuffled them up. I think we actually find those more during the actual campaign. And then there are villain cards to track the ones that are on the board to show if you've used them. I probably won't need to use them much, but I've got 1 red, 1 orange, and 1 green orc. They're considered sentinels, so I've just got those villain cards. And usually what you can do is you can tap them when you've done their activations if you forget if you've done them. Finally, we have a couple things for our heroes. So we start off with 2 red first aid tokens. If anyone ever dies, what we can do is have someone get adjacent to where that person died and then spend, it doesn't even take a prime action, but we can spend 1 of these first aid tokens. We can reduce our health up to 20 points to then heal that person by 20 points. We can do that twice. It's just because in case someone gets unlucky and gets totally killed, we can bring them back so that, let's say I was actually playing with 4 players, that person wasn't totally out of it, right? That'd be kind of boring. We also have a special ready token. So what this does is whenever you use your special is those upgraded attacks you can do once per the scenarios. You'll flip this over to say no special. Then the next person who goes cannot use their special. After that, this will ready, and then someone can use it again. So it just helps track. You can't just have everyone use their special right off the bat first round. Finally, we all get to, as a group, choose 2 heroic actions. So I'm going to show you those quick. Those you can take instead of doing a prime action. They're a one-time effect, and yeah, you'll see what they are in a second. Since this is the first time that I'm playing through this campaign, I don't really know. I'm going to go with Heroic Ambush and Heroic Defense. 1 defense and 1 attack. So you can use this, spend a prime action, ignoring vision and range, no roll is required, move to a space adjacent to an enemy, then this enemy takes 20 damage. Boom, just 20 right there. This one you can spend as a prime action. You or an ally regains 18 HP. Until the end of the round, you are immune to damage. So if you even get attacked, you don't, right? You don't take any damage, which is super cool. So I thought, yeah, these might be nice. You can decide who needs to use them. They'll use them instead of doing their regular prime action. And there you have it. That's the setup of the game. You can see we're all set up here. We're starting at the stairs. We've got our 3 orcs right here. We have all of our prisoners here. That orb that's going to hit us for 8 damage, it's way over there. So we're going to have to go through these doors, deal with the boss if we want to take that out, and run all the way over there. And then here's all these lava pits that we've got to watch out for. Something else I want to mention is that these chests, if we unlock them, whoever unlocks them gains 20 HP. Nice way to heal up a little bit. I apologize for the long setup, but I just wanted to show you how immersive the story is. I mean, I'm actually really interested to see where this story is going to go. And I really enjoyed even just that first campaign card that you may or may not have seen. Yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot. So hope you guys enjoy it. Let's jump into the playthrough. I'll catch you at the next stop.